A wolf can become a dog. That sentence is so familiar that it barely sounds strange anymore. A gray wolf became a chihuahua. A wolf became a golden retriever. A wolf became a border collie, a pug, a husky, and the animal sleeping at the end of your bed. But now, look at a fox. A fox belongs to the same larger family as wolves and dogs. It has ears, fur, paws, a tail, and a face that can look almost dog-like from the right angle. So why did humans turn wolves into dogs but leave foxes mostly wild? Why are there millions of pet dogs, but no foxes waiting at shelters, walking on sidewalks, sleeping beside family couches, or learning to fetch in nearly the same way? The first answer is that the title is not completely true. Pet foxes do exist. In some places, people keep foxes in private homes or specialized facilities. Some are captive bred. Some have been socialized with people from a young age. Some may learn routines, recognize their caretakers, or enjoy certain forms of attention. But that is not the same as domestication. And that difference explains almost everything. A tame animal is an individual. A domesticated animal is a population. You can tame a fox, at least to some degree. If it is raised around people, handled carefully, and given food and safety, it may learn not to fear humans in the same way a wild fox would. But its offspring are not automatically born with the same relationship to people. Domestication happens when humans influence breeding for many generations. The animals that are calmer, less fearful, easier to manage, and more likely to reproduce around people are selected again and again. Over time, the population changes. That is what happened with dogs. Dogs are not wolves that happen to grow up in houses. They are the result of a long evolutionary relationship between humans and ancient wolf populations. Exactly how that relationship began is still debated. Scientists continue to argue about where dog domestication occurred, when it happened, and whether it involved one wolf population or several. But the broad story is clear. Some wolves began living closer to people. Maybe they scavenged near camps. Maybe humans tolerated wolves that stayed at a distance. Maybe wolves that were less fearful gained access to food. Maybe humans eventually chose the friendliest, most useful animals to keep nearby. Whatever the first steps were, the relationship changed both sides. Humans gained warning systems, hunting partners, guards, companions, and eventually animals shaped for countless specialized jobs. Dogs gained food, shelter, protection, and a place beside one of the most successful species on Earth. But foxes never entered that relationship on the same scale. And one reason may be that wolves were already unusually prepared for it. Wolves are highly social animals. They live in family groups. They communicate constantly. They cooperate while hunting. They raise young together. They navigate relationships, conflict, play, rank, and teamwork. That social flexibility may have made it easier for some wolves to include humans in their world. Not easy, not guaranteed, but possible. A wolf pack already depends on coordination. A dog's relationship with humans may have grown out of that ancient ability to pay attention to other social beings. Foxes are different. Foxes are intelligent, adaptable, and often surprisingly social in their own ways. But many fox species do not live in the same kind of large, cooperative family structure as wolves. A red fox may form a pair bond or live with a small family group, but it does not normally operate like a wolf pack hunting large prey together. That does not make foxes less clever. It means they are built for a different life. A fox survives by being alert, quick, quiet, adaptable, and ready to disappear. A dog was shaped from an ancestor that could coordinate with a group. A fox was shaped by a life that often rewards independence. And then there is the practical problem. A fox can look small, soft, and perfect for a home. But looking like a pet and functioning like a pet are not the same thing. Foxes dig, they climb, they squeeze through small gaps. They can be active at times when humans want to sleep. They may guard food. They can be difficult to house train. And many foxes have powerful scent-marking behavior. That last part surprises people the most. Foxes communicate with scent, and their urine has a strong smell. A fox does not understand that your couch, carpet, bed, and curtains are expensive human objects. It understands territory, safety, food, stress, and communication. A dog may mark too, of course, but thousands of years of domestication have made many dogs far more manageable in human homes. Foxes did not go through that same process. A fox may become affectionate with a person and still be a terrible housemate. It may enjoy attention and still panic around visitors. It may recognize its caretaker and still bite when frightened. It may be sweet one moment and intensely independent the next. That does not mean foxes are bad animals. It means they are foxes. And sometimes the kindest thing we can do is stop expecting a wild animal to become a dog in a different costume. But what if humans had tried? Could foxes have become domesticated if we had spent thousands of years breeding them? The answer may be yes. In fact, one of the most famous animal behavior experiments of the 20th century began with exactly that question. In the late 1950s, Soviet scientist Dmitry Belyaev and his colleagues began a long breeding experiment with silver foxes, a color form of the red fox. The researchers did not initially select the foxes for intelligence, fur quality, size, or strength. They selected them for one trait: tameness toward humans. Generation after generation, they chose foxes that showed the least fear and aggression around people. The calmest animals were more likely to breed. Their offspring were tested. Then the friendliest among those offspring were selected again. Over time, something remarkable happened. Some foxes began approaching people voluntarily. They wagged their tails. They sought attention. They whined or barked in ways that sounded more dog-like. They showed less fear and became easier to handle. Then changes began appearing that the researchers had not directly selected. Some foxes developed floppier ears. Some had curled tails. Some developed different coat patterns. Some kept more juvenile behavior into adulthood. This collection of traits is sometimes called the domestication syndrome. It does not appear in every domesticated animal in the exact same way, and scientists still debate the mechanisms behind it. But the fox experiment showed something powerful. Selecting strongly for behavior can reshape much more than behavior. The experiment also proved that foxes are not biologically incapable of domestication. Given many generations of deliberate selection, humans can move a fox population toward greater tameness. But that does not mean the experiment created ordinary pet foxes. The foxes were part of a carefully managed breeding program. Their behavior reflected decades of selection, controlled conditions, expert handling, and a specific research goal. A fox from that kind of line is still not automatically the same as a dog. And a wild fox is certainly not. This is where people often make a dangerous leap. They see a cute fox video online. The fox is playing with a toy, making adorable sounds, or curling up beside a person. It looks like a dog with better ears. Then they imagine owning one. But a video is a few seconds. A pet is every day. It is cleaning, feeding, exercise, vet care, enclosure design, scent marking, stress, noise, escape risk, and the responsibility to meet an animal's needs for its whole life. A fox may be legal to own in one place and illegal in another. Laws vary by country, state, city, and species. But legality is not the same as suitability. An animal can be legal and still be a poor fit for a normal home. That is especially true for wild or exotic animals whose needs are difficult to meet in captivity. So why did dogs become pets while foxes mostly did not? Part of it was biology. Wolves had social behavior that may have made cooperation with humans easier. Part of it was history. Early humans encountered wolves in ways that created a possible partnership. Those early relationships had thousands of years to deepen, spread, and change. Part of it was usefulness. Dogs could help hunt, guard camps, carry loads, herd animals, find lost people, warn of danger, and live in close contact with families. Foxes did not offer the same practical role at the same scale, and part of it was momentum. Once humans had dogs, we had dogs. We had breeding knowledge, traditions, stories, training methods, and working roles built around them. Dogs became part of human life so deeply that we created hundreds of breeds for different needs. By then, there was little reason to begin a second, much harder project with foxes. Humans did not choose dogs because foxes were failures. Humans chose dogs because wolves were already standing at the edge of a path that led toward us. Foxes took a different path. They became masters of surviving near people without belonging to people. They live at the edges of cities. They hunt rodents in fields. They slip through suburbs at night. They cross roads, hide beneath sheds, and vanish into brush before most people notice they were ever there. A dog walks through your front door. A fox watches from the darkness beyond the fence, and that may be exactly where it belongs. The real miracle is not that foxes never became dogs. The miracle is that wolves did. A dangerous wild hunter entered human history, generation by generation, and became one of the closest companions our species has ever known. Foxes remind us that this outcome was never automatic. Domestication is not just about intelligence. It is not just about cuteness. It is not even just about whether an animal can learn to trust one person. It is about generations of biology, behavior, history, and shared survival. A fox can be fascinating without needing to become a pet. And a dog is not simply a wolf that learned to sit. It is the result of one of the longest relationships in human history. Would you rather observe a fox in the wild or meet one from a carefully domesticated line? Leave your answer in the comments and subscribe to Andy for more strange stories about animals, evolution, and the world we share.